Hi everyone, welcome you all. In the today's video, let us see how we can handle properties files in Java. So basically the Java property file is used to store project configuration data or some settings which are related to application and so on. So to create and read the data from properties file, we use a special class called properties class. And we'll see practically how can we create a properties file and how can we add data into properties file. And then we will see how can we read data from the properties file and so on. So let me open my Eclipse, and I already created one new Maven project. And inside this, I'm going to create new package, and my package name is, I'll name it as property files, and then click on finish. Now I have created new package. So first step, we'll see how can we create a property file and how can we write data into property file. So I'm creating a new class. I will name it as write properties file. And also I'm taking this main method and say finish. So first step, whenever you want to create a new property file, we need to create an object of property class. We have a special class called properties. And for that class, we need to create an object. I'm going to create one object called properties equal to new properties. Okay. So once you create it, we need to import this particular class, properties class, from java.util package. And now the properties file contains the data in key and value pairs. So we need to add key along with the value. So to add data in the properties file, we have to use this properties class object. So let me take this variable and dot. We have a method called set property. So by using this method, we can add data into properties file. So set property, and this method will allow us to provide key and value pair. So for example, I want to add some data. Let's say I want to add some name here. I can print the name like this. And then I can add some more data here. I can say by using properties object, I can add some more data like set property. And here I'm adding email. And this is a key. And then we have to add some value here. Let's say abc@gmail.com. So like this, we can add as much data you want into property file. And then I'm also adding some more data. I say properties dot set property. And I can say age. We can say here 35. So like this, we can simply add some data into properties file. So now we need to this is properties object. So by using this object, I have added some data. So now we need to add the entire data into the properties file. Okay. So how can we add? First of all, we need to create a file. So where we want to create, we will maintain the file path in a variable. I'll say file path and equal to. So where you want to create a file. So you can create a file anywhere else or within the project. So here I have created a new folder called data. So inside this, I want to create a new file. So how can we access this data? This data folder is part of your project. So first we will get the location or the path of this project. Inside this, the data folder is available. So here I'm using a method called system.getProperty. So this is a method through which we can access the current project location. I can say user.dir. So this will basically return current user directory, or we can say current project location. And in this, we need to just concatenate. In this, my folder name is data. So we need to use backward slashes in data. We need to specify the name of the file. So let me say some example file, example dot, and the file extension should be properties. So this is how we can just specify the location. So now whatever data we have added to the properties object, we need to send the data into the file. So for that, we need to open the file in the file input stream. So I can use another class called file input stream, file equal to new file input to stream, and whatever file path we specified here, we need to just pass it into the file input stream class. So this particular file input stream will open the file in the reading mode, so that we can write data back into the file. So it is not file input stream, it is a file output stream, because we want to create a new file, and inside that we have to pass the data. So it is file output stream, not input stream. So file input stream is for what? Reading the data from the property file. So if you want to read the data from the file, we have to use file input stream. And if you want to write data into the file, we can use file output stream. So here it is also file output stream. So now we need to import this class from java.io. And after that, it will throw some exception, just adding that exception. Fine. So now this is the file which is actually representing the properties file. So now whatever the data we have added in the properties object, okay, we need to take the help of that properties object, and dot, we have a method called store. In the properties object, we can access this method store. And in this, we have to pass two parameters. One is the file which we created, and the second parameter is just a comment. If you want to write some comment in the properties file, you can just write some comment. Let's say sample data in properties file. I'm just writing some comment. So two parameters it is. Properties is my object dot store, and whatever file we have opened through file output stream, we have to pass it file and some comment. So after that, we can simply close file. So file dot close. So this will also throw some exception. Just add that exception. Okay. So done. So once it is done, so what we can do is we can just put some message here where exactly the file is got created. I can just print that location, println, and I can write properties file, or I can say properties have been written into, and on which file we have written, that we can specify here into. So this is a file location, right? File path. So that I can specify. So whatever the properties we have created here, so all of them written into the file. So that's it. Very simple code. So we need to first create a properties class object, and then we have add some properties, and properties in the sense which contains a key and values. After that, we specify the path, and that file path we pass into the file output stream because we want to create a new file. And then we call one method called store, and in this we have to pass this file object, and then once it is done, we can close the file, and then we can specify where exactly it is got created. So now currently the data folder doesn't have any properties file. Now when I run this code, run as Java application, now this is going to create a new file inside this particular example.properties. And if I go back and refresh your folder, and here you can see example.properties. This is a properties file which is got created, and this is the comment whichever we return. So this is the data. So like this, we can pass as much data you want in the properties file. So for that, we need to use special class called properties. Okay. So now I'll show you how can we read the data from the properties file. So let me create another class, how to read the data from the properties file. So here I will create another class, read properties file. Read properties file. I'm taking again main method. So again, for reading also, we need to take the help of properties class. So for that, what we need to do first, we need to create a properties class object. I say properties equal to new properties. So now first we need to create an object of properties class, and then we have to import this properties class from java.util. And now from which file we want to read the data. So currently I already have one file called example.properties under the data folder. So this is a folder, this is a file from which I want to read the data from the properties file. So I'm creating one string path, file path. So this is representing the location of the file. So here again, I'm using a shortcut method called system.getProperty of and user.dir. So this is basically an environment variable, and we are getting the value of user.dir. So this will obviously return the current location of your project. So tomorrow, if you move this project to somewhere else, you will able to dynamically get the current location or current path of your project. And inside this, we have a data folder. And inside the data folder, we have a file called example.properties file. Okay. So from this file, we want to read the data. Now, so before reading the data, we have to open the file in the reading mode. So whenever you want to read the file, we have to open the file in the reading mode. For that, we have to use something called file input stream. For writing, we have to open the file in output mode. That is file output stream class we have to use. At the time of reading the data from the properties file, we have to use something called file input stream. File input stream and file equal to new file input stream. And here we have to pass file path. So whichever file which is already exist in the data folder, I'm just passing it. So now we need to import this particular file input stream class, which is available in java.io package. So this will throw some exception, just add this. Right. So now this file is representing the properties file. So now the next step is we have to, before reading the properties from this file, we have to load the file. So how to load the file? To load the file, we have to use the properties object. In this, we have a method called load. And here we have to pass the file. Whichever file we want to load, you have to specify that file. And this will also throw some exception. Just add this IO exception. And after loading the file, we can read the data. By using this properties object, we can read the data. And because after loading, you can simply close the file also. I can say file.close. So what we have done here is we created properties class object. And then we have passed the file path in the file input stream. And then by calling this load method, properties.load method, we are passing the file actually. And this will load, properties.load method will load the file. And once it is loaded, by using this properties object, we can access all the properties from the properties file. And after that, you can close. Later also, you can close if you want. Now I want to retrieve the data from the properties file. Read data from properties file. So we can read the data in many ways. So suppose I want to read the data from the properties file. Like currently I have this data. So let's say I have age, email, name, and so on. So here the age, email, name, these are all called properties and these are all called values. Now I want to get the values. If you want to get the values, we have to use this object called properties. Inside we have a method called getProperty, and here we have to specify the key, whatever key we have in this property file. So here age is a key, email is a key, name is also key. So that we have to specify. So get a property of age. So when you specify the key here, that will return the value of that one. Okay, so this we are going to store in a string variable. I'm taking one string variable and say age. And similarly, I'll get the data by just passing different properties. So here we also have a name. We also have email, right? 3 attributes: age, email, and name. So here this is age, this is a name, and this is email. So once you get the data from the keys, you can directly print it here. You can say system.out.println. First I'm printing age, and after that I'm giving some space. After that I'm printing name. After that I'm giving some space, and then I'm printing email. So you can print in multiple lines also if you want. Okay, this is the one way we can get the data from the properties file. So once you get the data into these variables, you can use these variables for any purpose. So most of the times the properties file contains the configuration data. When I use this configuration files in our automation, so normally we specify the configuration data. Like suppose if you have an application, URLs, username, passwords, right? If you're working with the databases, normally we specify the database URLs, database user information, all those things. So basically the configuration data we will maintain in the properties file. So once we get the data into the variables, now we can use these variables in our code later. Okay, this is the one way. Now let us try to execute till here. So when I run this as a Java application, so this will read the data from the properties file. Right. Now I want to retrieve all the keys from the properties file. Let's say I have age, email, name, and so on. I want to retrieve only keys. What are the keys are there in my properties file, or what are the properties are there? Not the values, only properties I want to capture. So for that, what you can do is read, or we can say capture all the properties without values. Okay, simply what you can say, properties is an object, and this we have a method called string property names. So this particular method will return all the properties into a variable. I call it as a keys, and the return type of this property string property names is set collection, set of strings. So that return type we can specify set of string. So now we need to import this set collection from java.util package. So by using this method, we can capture only the properties from the properties file, and then you can directly print these keys, or else you can iterate the set and you can retrieve each and every value from the key one by one. So when I run this, you can see all the keys which are returned, all the properties are returned from the properties file in the form of set. This is one approach. And there is another method. Let's say this is method 1. There is another method to capture all the properties. Capture all the properties. There is another method. So again, we use a properties object, properties dot. There is a method called key set. Okay, this will return a set of object type. So this will return all the keys, but the return type is what? All keys. The return type of this variable is set of object. So all the keys will be returned. So every key is storing as an object in the set collection. Set means it doesn't have any duplicates. Now, if you just want to print them, you can just print all keys. All right. So when I run this, this will also able to print all the keys just like string property names. Only the difference is both the places it will return set, but here all the keys will be written in the string format, but here all the keys will be written in the object format. That is the only difference. All right. Suppose I want to retrieve all the values, not the keys. Only values I want to retrieve from the properties file. So how can we retrieve? Capture all the values. Capture all the values from the properties file. So simple, we have a method in the properties object, take properties object dot, there is a method called values. So this particular method will return all the values in the form of collection. If I look at the return type of this, collection of objects. So here I'm creating one variable called values, and the type of variable should be collection interface, and inside this all are objects. So this collection interface, again, we have to import from java.util. So this particular method will capture all the values from the properties file. So again, if you want to print them, you can simply say print statement and then print values. So when I run this, this will give you all the values without keys. If I look at here, these are the only values which we have in the properties file. So now suppose I want to read all the keys and values. Keys in the sense all the properties and along with the values. Let's say we have 100 keys and 100 values. How can we read them? So if you are writing these statements many times, it is very difficult thing, right? So instead of that, we can simply write a looping statement through which we can iterate all the properties from the properties files. So we can read all the properties and their values along with the values, properties along with the values. So we can write a looping statement here. Simply what you can do is for loop. I'm writing for each loop, which is also called enhanced for loop. So we can use this one. So from the properties, string property name. So this will return all the keys, right? So I can just use it here. It will return all the properties or keys in the string format. So I'm getting them into one by one into the variable. Here I'm creating one variable called key. The type of variable is what string I'm taking, because all the properties have taken in string format here. And what is the difference? Can we use key set here instead of string property names? Yes, we can use, but the key set method will return object. So the key also should be object type. So that is the reason. So we can get a string property names method, and this will return key in the string format. So once you get a key, if you know the key, you can get the value also, right? So I can say system.out.println. I'm printing the key first, and after giving some space, and now by using this key, I want to extract the value of the key also. So how can I extract the value of the key? If you know the key, how to extract the value, this is the method. Properties dot get property, and here we have to pass the key. So when you pass the key here, that will return the value. So here I'm writing this properties dot get property, which value you want, that key we have to pass. So whatever key I'm getting here, same key I'm passing, so that it will return the value. So basically what I've done is I'm just printing the key along with the value by using a looping statement. Now, when I run this, this will iterate all the properties from the properties file. You can see here. So these are the properties which are defined in the properties file, and we are able to read it. So by using looping statement also, we can capture all the properties from the properties file. Okay, so very simple, and we can create our own properties file. We can add some more data here, and then we can read the data from the properties file, or we can read only the properties, or we can read only values, or we can read properties along with the values. So in multiple ways, based upon your requirement and convenient, you can write your own code. Okay, this is how we can simply work with the properties file in Java. Okay, so that's all for this video. Thanks for watching.